6 senior Russian commanders have been declared persona non grata, expelled from Moldova on April 22, 2026. For years, Russia has wielded the breakaway region of Transnistria as its most valuable strategic card in southern Europe, a lever to keep Moldova in its orbit and a military outpost on NATO's doorstep. But that plan has collapsed. Now, with the Kremlin unable to protect its asset, Moldova is launching a series of decisive blows. The question tonight: how has a small, non-aligned nation managed to trap a great power's military force, and what does this mean for Russia's last foothold in Europe? The historical parallel is a 30-year frozen conflict. On the left bank of the Dniester River, inside Moldova, lies Transnistria, a ghost territory under Russian control. Here, 1,500 Russian soldiers are stationed alongside 20,000 tons of Soviet-era ammunition and 220,000 civilians holding Russian passports. This was Vladimir Putin's last military foothold in Europe, a bridge he planned to connect by land after invading Ukraine in 2022. This arsenal's vulnerability is unique. Unlike Kaliningrad, which can be resupplied by sea, or bases in Syria, which have air and sea access, the Cobasna depot is completely landlocked by nations hostile to Russia. This transforms a strategic asset into a logistical nightmare and a massive, unsecurable liability. Today's event is the systematic dismantling of that bridge. The expulsion of 6 senior Russian officers on April 22nd is an operational blow that severs the chain of command. These commanders are now barred from Moldovan-controlled territory, cutting their access to the international airport in Chișinău. Geographically, Transnistria is a trap, a narrow strip of land 200 kilometers long, blockaded by Moldova to the west and Ukraine to the east. These commanders are now stuck. The difference now is that Russia has lost the capacity to rescue its own soldiers. Reinforcement is impossible. Withdrawal is impossible. Effective command is impossible. This move cripples the logistics for all 1,500 Russian troops. Rotations have become unworkable. The supply of ammunition and equipment has been cut. Meanwhile, popular support for the separatist regime is eroding, with Russian-speaking residents increasingly seeking Moldovan passports as an alternative. Moldova is neutralizing a Russian military presence without firing a single shot. But the persona non grata declaration is only the first prong of the offensive. The second prong is economic. When Ukraine halted Russian gas transit in 2025, Transnistria's economy collapsed. Chișinău seized the opportunity, applying national customs regulations to the region and stripping it of its privileged trade status, making it dependent on Moldova's economy. The third prong is political. On April 2nd, Moldova's parliament approved withdrawal from the Commonwealth of Independent States, or CIS. President Sandu signed the decrees on April 6th. This move strips away the legal basis for Russia's peacekeeping force narrative. The 30-year-old 5+2 negotiation format, a tool Russia used to freeze the status quo, has also been declared dead. Chișinău is no longer playing by Moscow's rules. A key part of this strategy is a deepening convergence with neighboring Romania. In January 2026, President Sandu stated that in a referendum, she would vote for unification. In April, Prime Minister Montanu took it a step further in Bucharest, declaring, "Citizens on both sides of the Prut realize we are very close to unification." A March survey showed 44% support for unification among Moldovans, a figure that could rise to 58%. While this figure is below a majority, its strategic weight is immense. It provides political cover for deepening integration in security and energy, effectively achieving a soft unification without the political risks of a referendum. This incremental approach bypasses the need for a decisive public mandate, neutralizing Russian opposition. While official policy remains focused on European Union integration first, the two countries are already acting as a single state. On April 23rd, the Prut 2 railway line to Falsiu, Romania, reopened after a 17-year hiatus, re-establishing a physical connection. Energy grids are being integrated, with Romania now supplying a significant portion of Moldova's electricity and gas. Legal committees are harmonizing laws for EU accession. Unification has effectively begun. Russia's response is harsh. Foreign Minister Lavrov called the prospect of unification a provocation and an act of NATO expansion that would destroy the Moldovan state. But Moscow's capacity to act is severely limited. Its last institutional tie was severed with the CIS exit. Its energy leverage has shifted to Romania, and its military presence, the final point of pressure, is being systematically neutralized. The forward implication is a fundamental change to Europe's security map. If Moldova unifies with Romania, the Russian soldiers in Transnistria will no longer be on the soil of a small, neutral country. They will be on the territory of a NATO and European Union member state. This transforms the situation entirely. Russia can threaten Moldova, but threatening NATO member Romania is a different category of risk, backed by the collective defense commitment of 31 allies. This risk is not merely theoretical. Romania is already a key pillar of NATO's southeastern flank, hosting the Aegis Ashore missile defense system, the Mihail Kogalnicianu air base, and a significant Black Sea naval presence. Unification could extend this military infrastructure to Moldova's borders, further shrinking Russia's strategic depth. The Odessa Triangle, a security pact between Moldova, Romania, and Ukraine, would become an even more powerful bloc. In this scenario, the 1,500 Russian soldiers in Transnistria would be completely helpless, forcing Moscow to negotiate a withdrawal. This points to the total collapse of Russia's 30-year frozen conflict strategy, setting a precedent for its other proxy-controlled territories like South Ossetia and Abkhazia in Georgia. The panic in the Kremlin is audible. On April 21st, Russian Security Council Secretary Shoigu compared the situation to post-2014 Donbas, accusing Moldova of a blockade and threatening the security of the 220,000 Russian citizens there. He warned, Russia will take all necessary steps and use all available methods to protect them. This rhetoric is a deliberate echo of the past. In 2014, Russia used the safety of Russian citizens as a pretext to annex Crimea and launch a proxy war in Donbas. Shoigu is now applying the same template to Transnistria. The deliberate echo of the 2014 Donbas playbook reveals a critical shift in Russian strategy. Where the rhetoric once preceded overwhelming military action, it now appears to be a substitute for it. This suggests Moscow is using the memory of its past power as a deterrent, because the actual capacity for intervention is gone. But there is a massive difference between 2014 and today. Russia's military intervention capacity is gone. A land advance is impossible, blocked by an active war front in Ukraine. An air reinforcement mission would be suicidal against Ukraine's Western-supplied air defenses. And access by sea is impossible, as Moldova is landlocked and Russia's Black Sea fleet has been decimated. Military intervention appears off the table, but Russia still has its hybrid warfare toolbox. This includes disinformation campaigns, cyber attacks, and most dangerously, false flag operations inside Transnistria to create a pretext for escalation. A new focal point has also emerged: the pro-Russian autonomous region of Gagauzia in southern Moldova, which the Kremlin could use to destabilize the country from within. However, Moldova is no longer alone. The Odessa Triangle provides a shield against these hybrid threats. The EU is channeling funds to strengthen its resilience. Romania is sharing military intelligence, and Ukraine is securing the eastern border. Moldova's foreign ministry responded to Shoigu's threats with calm resolve, stating, "The rights of all persons in the region are fully protected." The situation is stable. The implication is clear. A nation of less than 4 million people, with a minimal military, has cornered Russia through precise strategy, timing, and alliances. Where the Kremlin had overwhelming capacity in 2014, the war in Ukraine has drained its resources. Shoigu's threats are an attempt to fill an empty shell with memories of past power. The process now underway will determine the future of Russia's entire freeze and control strategy. If Moldova succeeds, a domino effect across the post-Soviet space could begin.